This is the What If Factory, where we explore the hidden mechanics behind the greatest mysteries. For years, one figure has stood out in the relentless spotlight of Hollywood, a man defined by his quiet generosity, his profound empathy, and an almost saintly kindness. Tonight, we ask the question that redefines his legend: what if Keanu Reeves could literally absorb people's pain, and that's why he's so kind? The hook is simple, yet devastating. The legendary kindness of Keanu Reeves is not a choice, it is a profound, biological necessity, a metaphysical purge, where every act of genuine compassion is a defense mechanism against the crippling psychic weight he carries. The ability, which we'll call synaptic resonance transfer, SRT, isn't a power he was born with, it was violently activated during the deepest trauma of his early life. The moment of activation occurs during a fictionalized version of a personal tragedy, where, overwhelmed by the collective grief and anguish, his neural pathways fused with the external human suffering around him. He didn't just feel empathy, he absorbed the pure, physical, and psychological residue of pain. The initial days of discovering SRT were agonizing. After spending time with a grieving friend or visiting a crowded hospital, Keanu would be hit by waves of profound, inexplicable sadness, chronic physical aches, or sudden flashes of violent emotional memory that were not his own. The pain was cumulative, a relentless psychic sludge that threatened to immobilize him. He realized that the sheer mass of human suffering he encountered through his career, the fans, the crowds, the industry, would eventually crush him. His survival mechanism, the core of this what if, became a desperate, unconscious form of pain transmutation. He learned, purely through trial and error, that he could displace the absorbed negative energy by forcing an immediate, genuine input of positive, selfless energy. When he felt a stabbing chronic back pain, the residual suffering of a stranger's decade-long injury, he would immediately give away a large sum of money to a worthy cause, the physical release of wealth corresponding to a psychic release of pain. When he felt a sudden, crushing wave of despair, the absorbed trauma of a deep personal loss, he would stop what he was doing and spend hours talking quietly with a homeless person, focusing all his genuine attention on their story. The act of receiving a simple, heartfelt thank you acted like a psychic lightning rod, grounding the negative energy and preventing a complete internal meltdown. This explains the seemingly random, extravagant, and almost legendary acts of kindness that define his public image. The gifts to the crew of The Matrix, the motorbikes, the large bonuses, were not just generosity, they were psychic lifeboats. The absorbed stress, the exhaustion, and the physical fatigue of hundreds of crew members had accumulated in his body. The sudden, immense disbursement of positive energy and material gratitude was the only way to expel that paralyzing weight. He wasn't being kind to be nice, he was being kind to survive. His famous preference for taking the subway, despite his wealth, is not humility, it's controlled exposure. The subway is a densely packed hive of low-grade, dispersed stress, commuter fatigue, financial worry, minor interpersonal anxiety. This constant, low-level stream of suffering is easier to manage, absorb, and transmute than the sharp, overwhelming burst of concentrated pain he might receive at a deeply personal, high-stress social gathering. He manages his intake. The reason for his often melancholy, reserved public demeanor is the constant filtration process. Keanu is always running a background diagnostic, passively absorbing the emotional temperature of every room, every person he interacts with. This means he can never truly relax. Every question, every interaction, is processed through the filter of, will this person's suffering breach my internal threshold? How much residual pain will this handshake cost me? His kindness is a protective shield, deployed instantly to neutralize potential psychic impact. The hardest part of living with SRT is its ultimate limit. He cannot absorb his own pain. The personal losses he has suffered, the tragedies that define his human story, remain locked inside him, raw and unfiltered. This is the source of his profound, deep-set melancholy. He is forced to live with his own trauma while actively carrying the trauma of thousands of strangers, making his sadness an oceanic, almost unbearable condition. The most dangerous fictional consequence of SRT occurred on a major film set. An actor, struggling with severe, undiagnosed mental health issues, had a breakdown during a difficult scene. Keanu, standing nearby, instinctively tried to perform an emergency absorption. The raw, acute psychic pain, the years of concentrated anguish, flooded his system instantly. He collapsed on set, not from physical injury, but from psychic overdose. He spent weeks in recovery, not in a physical hospital, but in a self-imposed seclusion, slowly transmuting the toxic energy through meditation, solitary motorcycle rides, and, critically, quiet, anonymous charitable giving, drip-feeding the positive energy needed to flush out the intense negativity. The final, beautiful tragedy of this what if is that his relentless kindness, the thing the world loves him for, is slowly destroying him. Each act of transmutation, while providing temporary relief, costs a piece of his own life force, his time, his energy, his inner peace. His deep well of empathy, the very thing that makes him Keanu, is also his slow, beautiful poison. He continues his life, riding his motorcycles, building his philanthropic ventures, and being the world's accidental saint. His greatest acting performance isn't on screen, it's the simple act of maintaining a serene, calm demeanor while his soul is actively carrying the grief, the fatigue, and the quiet heartbreak of the entire world. His generosity is his desperate, beautiful cry for survival. And that, factory fanatics, is the terrifying reason why Keanu Reeves is so kind.